What up? Welcome back once again to the Necro Zoo. I am
Look at his traps.
this one. Let's go ahead and add one more figure to my McFarlane DC Multiverse collection. Now, today we will take a look at our second figure from the Task Force Darksied wave. Now, this is really turning out to be a very surprising wave for me. Had a lot of fun with the Superman, which is the first one that we took a look at. And today we'll be taking a look at Aquaman. Now, we do know that this wave had a lot of negativity facing it because of the cell shading, and I am not oblivious to this, not a big fan of it, but we will take all of that into consideration when we're taking a look at each one of the figures, as well as the final Darksied collect to build figure. Now, this guy does look pretty durable in the packaging, but let's go ahead and take a closer look at him. But first, he does come with your standard black DC Multiverse stand. Now, of course, these are not really needed, but sometimes they do come in useful. He also comes with a data file card. Once again, you have an image of the character done in more of a comic book style. Now, I will reiterate this again, that I really thought they should have done these pixelated figures and made platinums representing how they look in the artwork from the back of the box and from these cards. Now, I do have a theory on this that I have talked about before, and that is that there's no way McFarlane is going to give you a perfect, definitive, classic look of a figure. He's just going to keep, inching closer and closer to what everybody wants in the end. So instead of making the platinums of each one of these Task Force wave figures a pretty close to definitive version of the character, he went ahead and made them some sprite inspired, weird colored platinums that, everybody's still going crazy for and want to pick up. But for me, they're not really a big priority. On the back, you do have some information on Arthur Curry, so pretty cool. We'll hold on to that. Now, he does come with some accessories. He comes, of course, with his trusty trident. This one is the same mold we have received from previous releases. I do have one here. This one came, I think this is the one that came with the digital version of Aquaman, the classic version. And as you can see, it's just a slightly darker yellow, while this one is a pretty highlighted yellow, but pretty cool. I do have a ton of tridents for Aquaman in my collection and fodder box, so we will hold on to this. Pretty sweet. You also get some yellow energy effects. Now, this is why I love this community and people in the comments. Someone did tell me after the Superman review last time that one of these is for the fist and one of these is for the foot, which is something in the game where they're, giving off energy effects when they're fighting. But either way, I think you can fit both of these on the fist if you want to go like a double energy fist or whatever. Don't really use this, so it's not a big priority for me, but they are pretty nice. Transparent plastic yellow, and always nice to add more effects to the collection. Now, you do get parts for your Darksied collect to build figure. You get the two fists. Really looking forward to building that Darksied, so we'll hold on to these. And you also get the head sculpt. Now, I have a big plan for when I do a full review of the Darksied from this wave. Pretty much building up a little plan that where I want to have everything together when I review this Darksied. Even have to do a little bit of contingency planning just in case it doesn't work out, but very much looking forward to completing this Darksied figure. So we'll hold on to that. Now let's go ahead and take a more detailed look at this Aquaman figure. Now, I have heard a lot of stuff online about this one. Aside from the negative feedback about the pixel shading, you also had a big contingency of the comments out there talking about the hair on this guy. Now, first impressions, gotta let it soak in, but I do love me some long, flowing, luxurious locks. Me being an owner of such a thing, I can see where some people would be put off by this hair. Now, I have something negative to say about it, but it doesn't coincide with what everybody says. They're saying that it's ugly and it looks, too busy. But for me, the only negative about this hair is the fact that it represents Aquaman when he's underwater. This hairstyle really flows and has a lot of, you know, dare I say, tentacle, tendril aspects to it with all the curls. You even have some, across the face. But besides that, one of the, more shocking things is the color. It's a really bright orange. I mean, almost a highlight orange with some yellow in there to give it some contrast. But when I see something like this, I just really wish that when they give us an Aquaman figure, they give us a standard haired version where it's not flowing, like if he's underwater. That way you can stand him with the rest of the Justice League. I mean, I can see people looking past it if you make a Justice League lineup and his hair's flowing like this. Some people don't even notice it, but technically he would be underwater while the rest of the Justice League members would be, on regular dry land. So it does make a little bit of a conundrum, in my mind. And we haven't even spoken about the actual face sculpt. Now, this is, you know, a far departure from all of the Aquaman we have seen before. We've gotten a couple of bearded Aquaman. We did get that digital wave Aquaman, which had some nightmare fuel face sculpts. Although I have to say, the regular face sculpt for that Aquaman has really grown on me over time, even though he has the same issue where the hair is flowing like if he's underwater where it should not be. But this face sculpt definitely has a little bit of ruggedness to him, a slight little evil aspect to it. You could even say it looks very intense and has a good look. Take a really close look at it. Nice paint job. Although I do have to say it kind of pale, I would say, because of the way they wanted to represent the way he looks in the game. Not too much lifelike shading or anything like that, but the lips do have a different color as well as the eyebrows. Take a look at the articulation. He does look down really well. Surprisingly, he looks up, and this has to do with the hair not flowing onto the back of his neck where he wouldn't be able to look up, limiting his range of motion. So he does look up fairly well for what the figure is. You got right to left. And of course, you could tilt his head for some attitude. So, very interesting head sculpt and hair. I know a lot of people uh, crapped on this, but once again, as per usual, you're talking to a guy who really enjoyed side eye. I thought it gave the figures an aspect and a look that you can't get from those straight looking, motionless zombie eyes that people seem to prefer. Although it does lock the figure in certain poses, I have to come out and say I really love this head sculpt. Not to say it's perfect for by any means, but to say I love the uniqueness. And later on, we will be taking a look at some different looks, some alternate bodies, alternate head swaps that you could eventually do. But we'll take a look at that towards the end of the video. Now, another thing I want to say is looking at the body, there's something interesting for me about the cell shading. Aside from the fact going down into the belt, I love this traditional Aquaman belt. We've gotten used to getting that gold painted, kind of shellish Aquaman Aquaman belt that we receive with most of the figures. This goes back to a more traditional classic Aquaman with that block A. Although one thing that is off-putting is that the plastic is the same color of the trident, so it is a little bit of neon yellow there, which is fine. Definitely jumping out of the screen of the video game. Now let's talk about the cell shading because I really want to address this. And, first impressions looking at the cell shading, I'm not hating the cell shading on this Aquaman. In all honesty, it kind of gives him a little bit of a marine or wet look to him. The highlights are in just the right parts on the shoulders and on the chest, the top of the abs. Even if you move him around, you can see there's dark cell shading like under the arms, in between the bicep and tricep, which gives the figure a little bit more of a even realistic look, which is hard to say because this is representative of the video game image of Aquaman. But that does tell me one thing, and that is that not all of the cell shading works, but for some reason it works on this Aquaman. Now, if you don't know, I'm definitely going to be picking up 3 sets of these video game figures. One to keep mint in box in my mint in box collection, one to have as a, normal release, and one so that I could use the parts for customizing and building some custom figures. And yes, that means all 4: Superman, Aquaman, Batman, and the Flash. Now, don't try and understand me or figure out why I'm doing that. I'm sick like that, and I really just have plans that I want to do. I even have a plan for like the extra Superman that I have. I'm going to use the cape for another custom that I've been wanting, just a red wired cape, and utilizing the extra Superman that I buy to remove the cape and use it on that other custom. That's a whole nother story. Let's get back to this Aquaman. So, aside from what other people think, I think the cell shading really looks good on this figure. Gives it more depth and contrast, and just really works well for this Aquaman figure. I don't know what it is. You'll kind of be able to see what I'm talking about when we do the head swapping at the end of the video, because that'll really bring out the essence of what I'm talking about. Figure. Now, first impressions, pretty nice looking with the paint, the added paint, and the texture that it adds. But let's take a look quickly at the articulation. You got side to side, you got that full swivel at the waist. Really nice. McFarlane really firing on all cylinders when it comes to articulation. He does have a forward crunch, which is very nice. That chest part almost touching the belt. Now, if you do the mods, you'll get way more out of the front crunch, which will be by far enough that you could ask for from a McFarlane figure. Take a look at the shoulder. He does have that socket and bushing shoulder joint, which moves very freely. Bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, looks pretty clean. I mean, we've seen this figure before, so there's nothing new that I'm showing you. Very tight thigh swivel. When I do the video showing you how to do all of the mods on a McFarlane figure to get the most range, you'll see what I mean on how to get these to really move and really add a lot of thigh swivel. Double jointed knees, really nice. Basic articulation we've come to expect from McFarlane. The back looks really good. Now, take a note of how these trunks are cut. I really wish, like, the figures that are made on that Blue Beetle Booster Gold body, I really wish all of the trunks were cut like these. In fact, I have recently done that with some figures, and it just looks a lot better. It doesn't have that extra material hanging over the cheeks. Into the back, really nice muscular back for Aquaman with all of the texture and sculpting in the scaling of the body armor. So definitely a nice looking figure, something you don't see every day, and that's for sure. That includes the head sculpt into the paint added for the body, the cell shading, which, as I said, is not bothering me at all. Now on the Superman, it looks really bad. It looks like he's burned or he's damaged or something like that. But this one, it just makes him look like he's being lit by the lighting under the sea. I don't know if you could, understand what I'm trying to say, but it just looks good. It doesn't take anything away from the figure and even adds a little bit of accent and highlights. Pretty awesome. Very, very nice looking Aquaman figure. If you can get past the cell shading, now of course you can add the Triton to give him some looks, to finish him off. Now, I know what I've said is not going to be for everybody. This is just my opinion. I'm being honest with you. If it really bothered me a lot, like I just said, the cell shading looks horrendous on this Superman. If it bothered me a lot, I would be honest and tell you, but it does not. In fact, I've been looking forward to opening this one up and playing around with it and seeing the different things I could do. Of course, you could add the effects. That's not a big thing for me. I'm not a big effects user unless it's something to do with figure photography, which is another thing don't really enjoy doing that much, but I will do it. And that will take us into the alternate looks. Now, here's the thing, a lot of people could say, well, why don't you just try them on all the bodies, all the Aquamans we've received? I'm not going to do that. That's a lot of times it just does not look good, and I'm not going to waste your time in showing you head swaps that look like crap. I'm going to show you the ones that worked really good for me. Now, first of all, I have my classic Aquaman. That's my go-to. It is using the digital figure. Although I use the Flash Gordon from NECA Head, that's just my go-to Arthur Curry head sculpt, very much giving you a definitive classic Aquaman look. And I have to be honest, when you put this head on that really bright orange upper body, it looks very gaudy. It clashes really bad, and it does not look good at all. But I did have another classic Aquaman, like an older one that I had done, and that one uses the Endless Winter upper body, although it has a lot of the characteristics and vibes of a classic Aquaman. But I did swap this head onto that body. Oh, looks pretty good. I'd have to say, not a big fan, but it does look good enough to where there's something there. Now, once again, I could care less about matching the face paint to the neck paint because I can quickly match paint. That's not a big deal for me. I have become quite the technician when it comes to matching paints, not only flesh tones, but even just regular colors. I've become quite the little expert at doing that. So, not intimidated when the face paint and the neck paint does not match. That's not a big deal. I'm just not really sold on it completely. Now, I thought the whole time I was getting ready to do this video, I have my custom golden armor. And this one's pretty interesting because it uses the head from the Digital Wave Aquaman, but I took the hair from a long haired Endless Winter version. And I really love the way the gold pops with this darker lower body green. I made him his own custom trident. Um, really love this figure. So I kind of had it in mind that if I were to use this head on that golden armor body, that would be like a really interesting golden era looking Aquaman. And I have to be honest, I did do the head swap. Once again, not fully sold on it. It does have a little bit of intrigue in there. I mean, I did kind of like it. More than the first body we tried, this one did, look a little bit better. But once again, more like 60, 70%. Still wasn't 100% sold on this look. So we finally get into what I discovered was my preferred version. Now, if you know my channel, I used to have this guy on my desk for a long time. This is the Gold Gun, long haired, bearded version of Arthur Curry of Aquaman from the Endless Winter Wave. I think I bought 6 of these, so I have multiple customs, multiple body parts that I've, interswapped, and just had a lot of fun with this version of Aquaman. And I still have one extra laying around. And surprisingly enough, when I put this task force head on this endless winter body, this was by far my favorite head swap. It just fit. There's just something about it that I really enjoyed. Gave him an alternate trident to finish it off. The way the orange hair doesn't clash with the body armor. Even the golden tint on the belt, which I thought would be a problem, was no problem at all. It just flows really nicely. I think the trident gold and then the gold of the belt just bounce off each other, and it made this task force head look really good. Got some different images of it. Still, 95% happy with it. I think the 5% would be that I need to repaint the face and the neck to make them match, and then take a look at it. And I really think that will be an awesome variant version of Aquaman to add to my custom collection. Now, I did have a lot of fun with these parts, moving them around. I put them on a throne, which came out really nice. So he is more fun than you would be led to believe. And finally, the last thing I'm going to show you guys is something that I didn't even expect that was really awesome. And that was that NECA Flash Gordon head. I popped it on to this Task Force Wave body, and I really love the look that short Arthur Curry, looking head gave to this body. As I said before, the cell shading makes it look like he's underwater, or like he's been, been attacked by barnacles and been swimming through the seaweed. So I think it really has a very distinctive look for Aquaman. So this is what I'm going to do with that extra Task Force Aquaman body. I'm going to remove the head, add it to that Endless Winter body and repaint it. And then I will be acquiring another NECA Flash Gordon head to put on this Task Force body. And that's just how it goes. That's when you're, looking into the mind of a madman that has a lot of different ideas of customizing and the way things should look. So in the end, we'll have to wait and see what I finally decide, but that's some pretty good steps moving in the right direction for some custom Aquamans. Maybe one day I'll even make, a video of all the Aquamans I have acquired, because I think I do have around 10 of them to work on. So we haven't even mentioned that Aquaman from the 90s version from the Plastic Man wave. But what I came to find out is that the bearded, long haired Aquaman heads didn't really look good on this Task Force body. So why would I waste your time in doing that? Giving you nightmares of head swaps that look very terrible. But turning out to be a very interesting wave. I am really looking forward to that Darksied, which we'll see, maybe in a week or so. But anyways, you guys keep hunting out there, keep collecting, keep customizing, and I will see you on the next
They used to call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.